You've been you're getting the reps a lot lately, and you guys have been still making plays in the secondary. What can you say about the guys like Brandon Eccles and James Pierre that you've been working with a lot?
It's just an opportunistic group. Whenever the ball is in the air, we feel that the ball is ours. So, we like to go make the play on the ball. Especially when the ball's in the air, we forget the receiver. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The ball's as much as it is, it's ours as much as it is theirs. So,
What have you thought about just watching Jalen Ramsey work in the slot and everywhere that he lines up?
he's a player that I admire. Especially growing up and stuff like that. Watching him at Florida State and early on in Jacksonville and stuff like that. And, one of those great players. That I'm obviously excited to have as a teammate.
I saw you break up a pass. I think you were guarding Ben in the end zone the other day. A guy that has like quite a few inches on you, but you make that up in your effort. What do you do to negate those height differences in coverage?
Just play football. I always, it's always been guys that's taller than me. I'm always been one of the shorter guys, especially playing defense. But you don't worry about that. I'm faster than a lot of those guys, and just play hard and use your technique to be able to win those downs.
You got plenty of interceptions last year, so like you're no stranger to making plays. But what have you've obviously worked on things to get to this point? What have you been working on to be sharper in this camp?
Just communication things. Learning the playbook more. You know what I mean? Obviously, it goes past just learning my position and things like that. So, knowing what others is doing to help me be able to play faster whenever it comes to checks and adjustments.
How different are you as far as communicating and understanding the different things being asked of the defense, especially with a new DBs coach this year?
I'm ahead of a lot more things. You know what I mean? Instead of waiting for things to happen, I like to kind of get ahead of them and talk about them before they happen. So whether that's whatever we're doing to bunches, or if a guy goes away, what are we playing, and just different things like that. Checking out of blitzes. Checking two blitzes, showing disguises and different things like that I wasn't really doing last year.
What do you think of Jared Alexander now that you've basically had like several weeks with him now?
I love him. Like I said, he has us playing the ball more. You know what I mean? We're not as much as robotic. You know what I mean? As far as disguise and playing the ball, obviously, having certain responsibilities. Obviously you're not doing nothing to go out of the way to make plays, but within your framework, being able to make plays.
You and Brandon bring a lot of energy in practice. Where does that come from, especially when things start to get repetitive?
You just always, it's football, man. It's a game. You know what I mean? You got to have fun. A lot of people wish that they could, do this as a career and things like that. So, just always being excited and especially celebrating those plays, because I know it's obviously him coming from the Jets. Winning isn't something that they do a lot of and things like that. But it's just something that you want to be able to go out there and do, is have fun and celebrate with your teammates.
Beanie, when you look at this preseason, how have you always approached the preseason games, and what has always been your mindset going into these?
Getting ready for the season. You know what I mean? Obviously, we practicing against the Steelers. You know what I mean? Steelers on Steelers. So just going out there and seeing other things and really focusing on our assignments and adjustments and things like that. Obviously, you can't really game plan, for teams, because obviously they haven't played any games and things like that. And Jacksonville got a new coach, so you don't know what kind of offense they're running and things like that. So it's kind of more focusing on, getting your assignments right, your checks and things like that.
Beanie, what makes this preseason different from maybe last year for you?
Obviously I'm coming in year two, so obviously the game slowed down a little bit more. I know more than I did last year, and obviously being a rookie last year, you're more frantic, you know what I mean, and things like that, where you're running around and trying to figure out what's next. Versus now I'm like more reserved, and the way I go about things, I kind of have a routine and things that I like to do, and obviously having new teammates, I kind of still get to pick their brains and things like that. And obviously being in Latrobe, you get to learn teammates and, kind of build that chemistry.
Yeah, you had a lot of splash plays this last season as well. Does that build your confidence too going into year two? Like, hey, I got this?
Yeah, for sure. And especially with GA, having us play the ball and things like that, whenever the ball's in there, not so much focused on the receiver, but focusing on the ball. And that's why you see like a lot of guys getting interceptions and things like that.
Do you ever, speaking of interceptions, do you ever think about the 2 times you picked off Aaron Rodgers?
No, it's old. You know what I mean? It's last season. Like, people always bring it up and things like that. Me and A-Rod really don't talk about it. Like, obviously being him, been building a relationship and things like that. With like even like helping the defense and the disguising and all of that kind of stuff. So, but we don't talk about it. I'm just more focused on this upcoming year.
There's been a lot of talk as of late about this defense. This defense will be one of the best defenses in the NFL. What are your thoughts?
We have the pieces to do it. You know what I mean? Obviously, guys get paid a lot of money. Probably have one of the highest paid defenses. So, you know what I mean? That's what people expect, and we have a lot of high expectations ourselves. And obviously, Pittsburgh's known for Super Bowls and defense.
Pre-snap, who's the loudest communicator? Who are the loudest communicators on the defense when you guys are trying to communicate and line things up?
Linebackers, nickels, safeties. So that's kind of just how it works. Obviously the linebackers are the one that's giving the plays, and obviously it goes to the nickel, and then the safeties are also making the calls, and obviously the nickel has reign to make calls and stuff like that too as well.
So you do a lot of talking.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you like that?
Yeah, it's cool. I talk a lot anyway, so you know what I mean. Just being able to control however stuff is going to get handled, whether that's motions, checks, bunches, all those different types of adjustments.
Beanie, there are a lot of guys on the back end of the depth chart just trying to make this roster. What's kind of your message as a veteran in the locker room about how to handle these preseason games and how to better their spot to make cut down?
Just not so much focus on, am I going to be this? Am I going to be that? Just go out there and play. You know what I mean? This is a time to showcase your abilities and, obviously the knowledge of the playbook. Obviously you go in with a shortened playbook. We're not carrying in a whole menu, for each game. So you don't really have that much to, to try to, okay, what are they going to do? You don't have that much to worry about. So you can go out there and play fast. So it's all, about displaying your abilities to play football, you know what I mean? And a lot of guys, been playing football since kids. So just doing whatever you've done to get here.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.